2000 when I started coming back here to the USS Missouri to do some events. And just like from the old days, from Society of Seven, we just, like, the years never passed. We just picked it up, and he always talked about my impressions, and his favorite one was always Ray Charles. That's our station when we come back in here. And I'm going to miss his face when I come here to perform, and his fellowship. He had a wonderful, wonderful spirit. And looking out here and seeing all of you folks as friends that he has touched. And I'm blessed that you are here also for him. So this is for you, Jim. I will miss you. My good friend. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a soul like me. I once was lost, but now I am found. I was blind, but now I see. It was your grace, I know it taught me how to love. Oh, your grace, I feel believe, and how precious did your grace appear. It was the hour that I first believed. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a soul like me. I was lost, but now I'm found. I was blind, now I see. I once was so blind, but now I see.
Now, on behalf of the Battleship Missouri, I'd like to welcome Admiral Sweeney. Say a few words about him, please.
Hey, Kim, I'm not going to sing. Albert, thank you very much for the beautiful song.
You're very welcome.
Aloha and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Over the past week, I've heard words of condolence that Jim Jones is in a better place today. Knowing that Jim is a wonderful father, grandfather, and great-grandfather, a decorated Air Force veteran, a good friend, a dedicated staff member, and a committed leader. There is no question that those words are true. But I just can't help but wish that Jim Jones was here today, in this place, doing what he did every single day, which was greeting visitors with a genuine bond and with a witty sense of humor, making us feel so good and upbeat through his effervescent and caring personality. Telling the story of the Battleship Missouri to visitors as if he served on board the Battleship Missouri during World War II or was on the staff of General MacArthur, leaving a lasting impression on the many students who visited and slept on board this ship. And the list goes on. But I also wish that Jim was here today, because there are so many things that I wanted to tell Jim which have gone unsaid or not said enough. I keep relearning the lesson that despite my busy schedule, I need to take the time, or make the time, to pause and say thanks to all of our people who have done a wonderful job to make this monstrous hub of metal into a living and vibrant memorial. And Jim was one of those people. Every one of us should be expressing our gratitude and appreciation to people who have worked hard and deserve to be recognized on a routine basis, staff and volunteers alike. Because it is not enough for us to say thanks to our people only as we lay them down to rest. When the Battleship Missouri first came here, she was in terrible condition. This was in June of 1998. There was rust all over the ship. Our decks were black after being exposed to the foul weather in Birmingham, Washington. And mildew was rampant throughout the superstructure. Jim Jones was one of the first people that volunteered to work on board the ship and to get it ready for our grand opening on January 29th of 1999. I was the president and CEO at that time, and I got to know Jim quite well. Because of his outstanding performance, I hired Jim on February 1st of 1999, just a couple of days after the grand opening. Because words cannot express. He was a man that was upbeat, he was out there, and our visitors just loved him. I used to get notes, emails, letters, and phone calls from visitors and dignitaries alike, who expounded upon how wonderful it was to come on board and visit the Battleship Missouri. All because of the outstanding performance of Jim Jones, who was their tour guide. Being a staff member and leader, Jim has, in no small way, helped to transition the Battleship Missouri from a World War II relic into an internationally acclaimed memorial and visitor experience. He has, in no small way, helped to transition our visitor experience into our greatest strength, and has also helped to transition the many obstacles that we experienced over the past 13 years into stepping stones towards greater opportunities. When I was notified that Jim had been admitted to the AAA Army Medical Center I went up there to visit him in the cancer ward. And that cancer ward, by the way, was something that I was taken back because Jim had told me that he did not have cancer. But in any event, his daughter, Renee, was there. And when I came in, they were getting ready to move Jim to the Veterans Administration Center for the Aged. And in true Jim Jones style, when I asked him how he was doing, he told me, "Oh, don't worry about it. It's just a case of pneumonia. And they're moving me to the recovery ward where I'm going to get well. I'll be back at work in 2 weeks or so, and when I come back, I'll stop by to see you." He was focused, his voice was strong, and he was upbeat. But as I was leaving the ward, Renee told me that it was confirmed that Jim's condition was terminal. The next time, and the last time that I saw Jim was at the Veterans Administration Center for the Aged. Renee was also there. This visit was no different than my first visit. Jim was focused. He was a little weaker, but he was upbeat. He asked me if he could get the movie Battleship, because he had never seen that movie. Before I left, I told Jim that the staff was going to try to get permission to give him a video so he could watch that movie. But before I left, I told Jim that I too had not seen the movie Battleship. About a week later, Renee called me up and asked me to come to the center to watch the movie with Jim. I was en route to a neighbor island for business, and I told her that when I returned from my business trip, I will stop by the center and watch the movie with Jim. When I returned to my office the following Monday, which was last Monday, Renee had notified me that Jim had passed away. I was devastated. I sat there thinking, could I have canceled or postponed my business trip? Yes, I could. And I should have taken the time to go to the center and watch the movie with Jim. I really am extremely thankful for Dan Parsons for taking the time to go up to the center and watch the movie with Jim. But I also think that it was just a blessing that the last movie that Jim ever saw was about the Battleship Missouri. So as we celebrate the life of Jim Jones today, we should seriously learn from this wonderful man who has taken the time to greet people with a cheerful welcome aboard, who has taken the time to volunteer his services so that the Battleship Missouri could be open to the public on time, who has taken the time to place people and not things at the top of his priority list, and who has taken the time to share his life with all of us. To the family of Jim Jones, we thank you, and we thank God for having the privilege of sharing the life with Jim Jones, albeit only for a short 13 years. But just remember, a great man is not judged by how many servants he has, but by the number of people he has served. And Jim Jones is a great man because he has unselfishly served millions of Americans when he was in uniform in the United States Air Force, and countless more on the Battleship Missouri Memorial. On behalf of the Board of Directors, staff, and volunteers of the USS Missouri Memorial, I want to extend our sincerest best wishes to the family of Jim Jones and wish you only fair winds and following seas for the rest of your lives. Aloha and mahalo.